Good people, Sanbonan, Makebalo. Today we are doing this video for the grade 10, which is the November paper that was written in 2019. So we'll be doing the revision of this graph, which is the parabola graph, and this graph which we call the exponential graph. So yeah, let's get into it. So here they are telling us that in the graph, or the graph is defined as this one where g at x is equals to ax squared plus q, and also they are telling us that this exponential graph is an fxx where k x minus 4. Now, what we know here about this thing that is here, we know that negative 4, we call it what? We call it an asymptote. Remember now, exponential graph has one asymptote, which is the horizontal asymptote, which is the y asymptote. So this is the asymptote of the exponential graph. So the y asymptote here is the exponential asymptote of exponential graph. And also here in terms of this graph parabola, sorry, this q here is our y-intercept. Remember now, in the parabola, especially in grade 10, this q is the y-intercept, but at the same time is also the y of the turning point. So if we're having this q as our um our y-intercept and also the y of the turning point, that is very important. We need to make sure that you understand that. So now continuing, both pass through this point. So both of the graph, they pass through into -2 maps to 0, which is this point here is the x-intercept. Why is an x-intercept? Because our y is 0, and on the x-axis, which is an x-intercept, and the y-intercept, now they're telling us the y-intercept of the specifically of OG is 0 maps to -5. Now answering the questions, now they're asking us write down the equation of the asymptote of f. Remember, my f is this one. I've already explained everything here when it's come to the asymptote of the exponential graph. So y is equals to -4 as the only asymptotes that we have in an exponential graph. Now in terms of q, now also I did say that this is what this is the y-intercept and also the y of a turning point. So in terms of the value of q, remember they told us that the y-intercept of OG is this one. So the value of q automatically we know that is equals to -5. Now coming to 6.1.3, they're saying let's write down the coordinates of the other x-intercept of OG. Now, if I can draw this graph just roughly, I know now here that I'm having the x-intercept here of -2, and I know my y here is what is -5, and my x is going to be what is going to be 0 here. And then how do I find the other x-intercept here? Now remember the x here, which is the axis of symmetry. Remember the axis of symmetry is cuts your graph into half. So this distance from here to here needs to be the same, and also from here to here. So if this from here to here it's -2, this one from here to here needs to be the same as that one, since my x here is what is 0. So this here is going to be 2. So the other x coordinate is going to be x is equals to 2, which is more or less saying 2 maps to 0 as a coordinate. Now, because remember they're asking us to write it as a coordinate of the x-intercept. Now, going to determine now the equation of G. Now remember, my G is this graph, which is my parabola graph. So now what I have, I need to write down what I have. So let me find a space here based on that graph there. So I know that my g at x is equals to ax squared um, plus uq. Remember, we know uq now, that is what is negative 5. So ax squared minus 5, and then this is my grx. Now, how do I find my value of a? I can use any point that is on the graph, ubani, g. In this case, I do have this point and also do have this point. But for now, let me use this point, which is my what? My y-intercept of UG. So what is my y here is going to be negative 5. And I'm looking for UA. What is my I can't use this one because this one here, if I put a here, then this a is going to make this thing become 0 and this is 0, but it doesn't save the purpose of what I'm doing here. Now let me use the other one. If I use this one, because remember I passed through both of the graphs, so my y here is going to be 0 is equals to, and then my a, I'm looking for it, and then my x is what is negative 2, so it's going to be negative 2 into squared and then minus 5, and then this to the other side is going to be 5 is equals to, and then this is going to give me 4a, and then I divide by 4, and then I divide by 4, then my a is equals to 5 over 4. That this tell me something. If my a is positive, what does that mean? Tells me my graph is gonna face upward since my a is positive. That is very, very important. Now the whole equation now of g of x is going to be 5 over 4 x squared minus 5. So this is the whole graph of g. Now finding the graph of f. Now this is my f. So my f of x is equals to x and then minus 4. Now in terms of the points that I can use in order for me to find the k value. Okay, let's use this point that is here. So my y here is going to be 0 is equals to and then my x is negative 2 and then negative 4. Now here, from here, I can take this to the other side, which is going to be 4 is equals to, then from here it's going to be k into negative 2. So from here, to get rid of this negative 2, I can times by the reciprocal of it, which is just going to be negative 1 over 2 and into negative 1 over 2. And then from here, my k is going to be equals to 1 over 2. So my k is 1 over 2. Now writing the whole graph now into where f at x is going to be 1 over 2 into x and then minus 4. Now this is the equation of f at x. Now calculate the y-intercept of f. Now how do you find the y-intercept of f? Remember, to find the y-intercept, we let x to be what? 0. So this is my graph here. So if this is my graph, so remember y-intercept, so my x has to be 0. So this is 1 over 2 into 0, and then 4. So anything raised to 0 becomes what? Becomes 1. So this is going to be 1 minus 4, which is equals to negative 3. So I know my y-intercept is going to be 0 maps to a negative 3. So that's my y-intercept here is 0 into a negative 3. So now from here, I've calculated everything, probably everything that I calculated here is going to help me to grow. Now on 6.4, they're asking me on the same set of axes, sketch the graph of g and f and show all the intercept with the x's and the asymptotes. Now let's find a space in order for us to grow the graph that we have to draw. So now, first thing, let me start with my parabola graph. Now I know that my x is a -2 here, and then my other one is going to be here at 2, and I know that my turning point is here, which is also my y-intercept. So if I can draw my graph from there, it's going to be more or less look like this. This is going to be, so now, sorry guys, is best to be sort of a curvy graph. It's not a straight line graph like this. So but hopefully you do get an idea there. It's not a two straight line graph, guys. And then from here we are going to draw the exponential graph. First thing, draw the exponential graph, we must first indicate the asymptote. Remember, our y-asymptote is a -4 there. So this is going to be my asymptote, and then indicate my x intercept. Remember, they told us that both of these graphs, they pass through here, so this is going to be my x-intercept of the exponential graph. Now the y-intercept of that exponential graph is this one here, which is also this one that is here. So now let me draw my exponential graph now. So my exponential graph will look more or less like this. So this is my exponential graph. So these are the two graphs that you needed to draw in your axis, on the same set of axes. What is very important also, we need to indicate that this is 0 maps to -5, and here we're having 2 into 0, and here we have -2 into 0, and here we are having -3 maps to 0. So it's very important to indicate all the coordinate in your graph, and also this is y is equals to -3. You also need to indicate everything here in order to get all the full marks. Thank you so much guys for watching. Makebalo.